Greetings, miners. Nonsanity here, and welcome to episode 3 of my Sandustry series. Where we left off in the last episode, I was hauling some cinder back up to the surface here, and it wasn't that hard. I actually didn't have to go too far. All I had to do was get to where the bottom of my current mining pit was visible on the screen, and I could just drag this stuff to the bottom of the lifters, and it would take it up here and dump it in the container for me. So I did that. Say I should, well, let's not torch this yet, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to automate the torching of this using this cinder. For that, we need to start filling in this little space over here. But before I do that, while I was editing, I realized there's a little bit of bedrock there, and the belt didn't form, so I need to move this over one. And then make a new wall there, and I can get rid of that, and then fill this in with some collectors. Oh, that's going to go all the way down there now, so I have to close that off. There we go. All right, so how do I want to do this? All right, I'm going to have some allow only cinder. 7 of them. 8 of them. Oop, wasn't holding down control. So maybe 8 of those. Actually, I want to start here. Oops, went one too far there. So I'm going to put the cinder inside of these because these will pass cinder, and then I'll need something to keep it from falling out the bottom. And to keep it from spilling from the side, I'll put some conveyor belts there. Because then, once you've got this filled with cinder, you can use the flamethrower on it, and it'll turn all back into lava. And you've got to completely pack these things with cinder, because the lava has to be all the way up to the top. And then, as the regular slag moves over, it'll bake and turn into burnt slag. Then, let's go ahead and do that. We'll be cutting parts of this out, but we'll start it like this. We'll use a trick here just to make things more compact. When it comes out the other side, I want the burnt slag. So we'll do 5. 5 like that. And then underneath, conveyor belt like that. And cut away these 2. And then here we'll have a wall and a lift. And let's see, it would be just a short lift like that. Conveyor belt like that. All right, so in will come in slag and burnt slag. Probably mostly just slag eventually. It's going to go over the bed of hot lava here, turning into burnt slag, most of it. Some of it might not get a chance to change, but stacked up in a pile, the top of the pile might not change. When it gets over here, these are burnt slag, so the burnt slag will fall down. And there's no room underneath it. It's just going to land on this conveyor belt, but it'll move sideways through the filter, because it can go sideways through the filters if it's allowed to go vertically through them. And so it'll all move over here. And then over here, I will have conveyor like that. That's looking right. It's actually giving me a lot more room over here than I expected. Maybe I should expand Yeah, I can make it a little bit wider, I think. Let's see, let's move. It's what, one more lava or, yeah, more lava. That's good. So another cinder, and then complete these. Actually, that's higher than it needs to be. It can come, whoop, can come down one. And then there will be that. So the burnt slag will fall into this and go over here and come up onto this conveyor belt. The regular slag will come over here, cycle back up, and it'll be thrown back into the bin. Actually, I like having two there. So that'll send that back. And then do like that. Oop, not there. Here. Two is enough. So the burnt slag will come up here, get tossed. Make a conveyor belt like that. And then we'll have burnt slag filters every... Oh, actually, shipped all this over one. Well, sometimes when you move things, the conveyor belts have a tendency to disappear. Alright, we have burnt slag, allow only. There. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 7's going to be enough. Over here, we're going to have allow gold to go through. And, you know, I'm going to make a double path up here. This shifter should probably make it so that both of these are usable. So I'll get all the spores out of here quickly. Now we're going to put the kinetic presses in. All right, they can be up there. And I've found that separating them with some walls means that if one of them backs up, which they shouldn't in this setup, but if one did for some reason, it won't back up all the others as well. If they're all in one chamber and one backs up, it'll start piling up and it'll spill onto the other ones and all of them will back up. But separating them, make sure that at least some of them keep going. And I guess I can chop that up a little bit. I mean, there's enough room for another chamber, but I don't think... Let's see. So I think there and there. Let's give it a try here. So up goes the burnt slag. I guess maybe it's supposed to be this one. Whoops. Try it again. I've done a lot of things to try and spread the drops out. I guess I will add one more. Nothing came off the end here, but it might, so might as well cover all the bases. Anything that does go off will fall down here and get sent back into the system, and it'll eventually come back around again. do this again. And all the gold here is dropping down and getting sent up into the storage. Yeah, that's spreading it out pretty well. Again, it's taking advantage of the fact that when a launcher tops throws it, it's a little bit random. So sometimes they'll land in front, and then it'll slip down and fall in. Some will land on the other side. And like I said, I've tried a lot of different things to try and split it up. It's rarely going to fall in the first one here, but it could happen. Looks like all the other ones are working. You know what I can do is sort of block up the whole bottom here and run a good bit through and get sort of a statistical display of how much is falling into each chamber. Yeah, it's definitely uneven. But we've got some in the first chamber. This one is fairly empty, and that one may always be empty. Yeah, because the thrower probably can't throw that far, so I'd probably never use this one. It's interesting how few make it to this slot. Wonder if I take that one out. Now let's clear all this. You know, for testing purposes, I should just remove these temporarily. And just put in a floor. There we go. And I could just delete the floor and recycle it all over again. I think this is the pattern I originally have, but I wanted to add a couple more. I've spent a lot of time just sort of experimenting with everything and playing about with it. So a lot of them are going into this one. That's why I thought this one would be the good one to put. Oh, don't want it to go that way. Let's break that and reverse. There we go. That'll go back around again. I mentioned in the last video where the steam was going up through all those slots, and I was, torching it down those rooms. I mentioned that the thing above my head looked like a Galton board. And this is even more like a Galton board here. But we really don't have in the game a splitter, something that has a 50-50 chance of going two different ways. It'd be nice if you had like one of these launcher heads that was like spinning. Didn't have to graphically spin, but basically it would switch between left and right. I should make a suggestion for that one. Because then you could split the flow fairly evenly. You do that a few times, and you can split it any even number. All right, well, this one is definitely less than the others. I think that's even enough. So let's put back the slag presses. Oop. That's going to make a... Oh, no, it won't make a mess. Yep. Because all that stuff that went off the top is now going to fall back down, and it's going to go where it's supposed to go. All right, that looks good. Fill in that hole. Once this is lava in here, if that was a hole, lava would flow through the corner, because lava and water can flow through corners. So make sure that these two never go away and these two never go away, and none of these below once these are filled with lava. Oh, missed this spot over here. All right, I think this is ready to go. Let's fill it up with lava. Let's come over here and grab some of this. I need to get access to that one too. What I found is just sort of load it up on the front end of the conveyor, and it'll self-fill each of the filter slots. I'll put a block there in case any of it gets past. You want to make sure it is completely filled. I think it is. All right. It's flamethrower time. Now I'm looking at the tops of these blocks to make sure there's no dark spots. That looks like it's all glowing. All right, this should be ready. Now I extended it out here a little bit. It's not like flush with this wall, because once I get rid of these two, I'm hoping that with the large amounts of this, that as it starts to pass over, the flames will spread backwards. It'll save a bit of time. Again, these conveyor belts are fairly slow. So adding more of these will help. Let's go ahead and do that. I was keeping them off. Whoops. Ah. All right. I was keeping them off the floor, basically, but I want to hook them up there, too. There we go. All right, so you can see it's burning most of, but not all of, the slag. So the rest of it will have to come back and go back around to try again. But this will also slow down how much of it is getting thrown up here. Because if it comes in too fast, these still could jam. Like I said, I'm not using the launcher tops down at the bottom. I could. I just have to open up these doors. But then if one does back... Well, no, they shouldn't back up then because they got the launchers. I could do it either way. But I'm going to try it this way first just to see if it ever does back up. I don't think it will, because I'm not feeding it that fast. This is a fairly slow system. Looks like a little bit of fire is making it back, but I'm seeing a few flames over here. But it doesn't really seem to be catching. I wasn't sure if I could get it to spread backwards into the chamber. Maybe when this big pile gets over here, it'll be different. But listen, you can hear all the gold coins being made. We're at 1,000 again. And the spores are going to be coming up here and collecting up in this container. You can see the rain bar up here is doing a good job spreading it out. It's keeping it fairly even across the whole chamber. I was like that little hopping. I didn't take it all the way across because you can see that the ones jumping off this last one are hitting the far wall just about right. So that was the right number of them. And you see I shifted this in one because I knew this was going to be here. So now they can fall all the way in. So that's good. And I left some room here for the next piece of the puzzle. And I have to decide if it's ready. If we're ready to do that, I guess we're ready to do that. We need to be able to buy some pipes. And the money's going up pretty quick now. Water's good. Yeah. All right, well, let's get started for the next piece of the puzzle. So, once we've got these spores, what do we do with them? Well, we have to get them wet. But they have some problems with water. They have the same density as water, which is a weird one. Once they're wet. When they're dry, I don't know how they compare to water, because as soon as they touch water, they turn into wet spores. But wet spores have the same density of water, which means wherever they are in water, low, high, that's where they stay. They don't float to the surface or sink to the bottom. So they tend to make a mess. We've got to get them wet, but then get them out of the water. And they're not going to sit on a conveyor belt at the bottom of a puddle and move with it, because they'll just be in the middle of the water, ignoring the conveyor belt at the bottom. So what do we do? All right, let's, I'm going to do something new here, I think. So we got the conveyor belt coming over here. Let's leave, let's see, 1, 2, 3. We're just about whoops. All right, 4. I meant to do 3, but 4 is fine. I just want to leave a gap there in case we need to route anything between these chambers. So we're going to come down here. I'm going to have a conveyor belt like that. And then I'm going to have a conveyor belt down here. It helps if I hold down Control. Actually, I just do one down here. And then over here, we're going to have a conveyor belt, put a block underneath it. So we're going to fill this space up with some water, and to make, but only 1 block high of water. But to make the spores move through it, I'm going to put down a whole bunch of launcher tops to keep them hopping. So they won't be above the launcher tops because that would be out of the water. The things aren't lighter than air. They're only the same density as water, so they'll stay within this space. But if they're within this space, then the launcher tops can throw them. And then they'll arc through the air and they'll land again. They'll keep doing that until they end up over here. And do I want to raise this up a bit more? Yes. So these last two I'm going to make a little taller. Actually, that tall. Then I'll do a conveyor there and then a filter for wet spores. Because not all of the spores will be successfully wetted. Some will manage to just sort of hop on the tops and stay dry. So those I want to go back into circulation. So let's make a space here for a return launcher. Up like that. And then the other spores will come down here. And I'll have another launcher up this side. That'll put them into a new box. And this box, which way do I want it to move on the bottom? I have it moving this way. Yeah, let's try it on this way. We'll go that way. It'll have to be another... That's the cycler. And how big do I want that box to be? We've got this much room. A little bit smaller. These last few stages of the game, the materials, you're going to end up with extra stuff. If you process all the spores, you'll have a ton of the next material that you will not be able to process. There just isn't enough stuff in the world to process it. So I'm planning to not process every bit of the spores, just enough for the next stage. So I'm going to have a nice big chamber for wet spores that I will never be able to use. I mean, I could process them, but then it would take up 4 times as much space. So better to keep them as wet spores. Any wet spores in the system are now going to come into this chamber, wet spore. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They'll come in here. And cut a hole. And grab some agitators. Alright, so this will be our wet spore storage box. Now, I'm going to cut the hole here so they can either go up or fall down and travel along this conveyor belt. If they're coming along the conveyor belt and they fall down here, they're going to start hopping. Over here is where the water is going to be coming out. I don't want them to go back into this space. So I'm going to put a filter for snow right here. So they won't be able to go in there, but water can flow through filters. All right, so this is now a watertight chamber from here over to here. They fall in the water, they hop, they come out. If they're wet, they come down here and go into the next chamber. If they're dry, they stay in here and go back into circulation. Now we need water. All right, we've gone over 2,000. We can buy pipes. New stuff on our menu. We have pumps, vents, and pipes. Vents are where water comes out. And I'm going to put... I got room for 6. Let's put 6. And then pipes. So the pipes are hidden behind things. I'm going to make them a little bit more visible. I'm going to put them behind these. And then bring it down here. You can see the pipes. They're sort of on their own layer behind everything else. So it's easy to run them. I'm going to run it down like this. Actually, I should probably put it right up against it. You can't delete them with the normal deletion tool. You have to use the special pipe remover. There we go. And now on this end, we put some pumps. And I'm going to make 6 like that. And I need to put some more pipes behind 3 of them. Oops. I'll delete that in a moment. So those 3, now they're all connected. And pipe remover, get rid of that. All right. I heard some flowing water, so there should be now water up in this chamber. Yep, there we go. Look at that. Water drips out of these things, and it's filled up the bottom. Now, these things are not solid. Even sand and other things can go right through the vents and the pumps, which is why I wasn't worried where I put them for them interfering. And that, again, is why I put the this filter here, so nothing can get behind them where I can't see it. All right, I guess it is ready to test. And I'm going to do that. Now, that's a lot of spores. So a lot of them are probably not going to get wet and going to recycle. There they go. It looks like all of them are getting wetted. Now it is using up the water. It's going to be replenished. But if there's a big clump of them over here, it's not going to spread out. So now we're starting to see some dry ones getting over here. And because this is so tight, let's do the same trick I did down below. So let's get the wet spore filters and place them here. Replace that one. Then I can get rid of all of these. And then chop this down to just, whoops, wrong direction. That direction. But I will, maybe not there, there. I want them to be only 1 block high because I want this filter to work. Alright, looks like it's working. I only see regular spores over here. This is completely full. So that's going to process through this pretty quick. Which means this chamber is going to be empty most of the time, but that's okay. That's why I made it fairly small. And it looks like we're done processing all of the slag. I don't see anything happening down here. Yep, it is all gone. And nothing backed up. everything looks clean and empty now. So it all processed just fine. And this is making us the wet spores. So, what do the wet spores do? Well, we might as well take a look here. It looks like some of the wet spores are making it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But that's okay. They can just cycle back around again. I wasn't trying to make this a perfect split, or I would have given this a lot more room to separate them. This is very tight. So what do you do with the wet spores? All right, we've been new... No, we don't have it yet. We need to unlock it. Is that refining? Yeah, and we don't have enough for that yet. All right. I think I need to go and do some more mining. So let's go down. I'll do a little bit of fast-forward mining. So I don't want to go down this way. That'll take us to where the ice is. If we're going to do that, I should do a little prep work here. I don't want steam to go anywhere but where I want it to go. And that is up these vents here. So I'm going to temporarily make it very hard for the steam to go anywhere else. If it comes up here, it's going to go that way. I'll even smooth that off to make it an easier path. And I'll do that. Okay, steam coming up here is bump that way. It's got to go this way. Let's get some of that. You can't pick up anything in this chamber, and it looks like I can't get those. So I actually want to also make it so that none of the steam that's about to come up here is going to go into any of these caves where I can't easily get at it. So let's see, like that. Take that all the way across, just in case anyone gets into that space. All right, we're ready to go. Now, unfortunately, when I was saying that the green things will act like force fields, so sand and stuff can't get through them, it seems like steam can. That's why steam's getting all up in here, even though I laid this out first. So I'll just have to get some of that steam out by hand. And again, getting the flamethrower down here and moving it through horizontally through the water really turns it to steam fast. Alright, all that water is taken care of. Now it's time for more digging. Let's continue on. We have this green here, which is generating spores. I'd rather... I'd rather they don't go up into the system right now, because they'll go through the wash for the sand. So I am just going to make a spore trap here. Where I can pull them out later. There we go. So now if any of these spores, they should, actually, to make it work properly, it does need to be multi-layered. So let's do that. I think, well, how's that going to work? Well, what we do is put some little lifts like that. So now the upper sections will get tossed up there. There we go. And I want to do the same trick with the agitators. Copy them up. There we go. Now no spores can get past that. And this is like an inline filter for a single conveyor belt. It'll take the various, if a big pile comes along, it'll get chopped up and split onto multiple lines and then dumped on the other side. And I made some of these backwards, so it's confusing it. There we go. Continuing on. Oh, I just noticed we've got over 1,000. So we can go to triple burst. Very nice. Watch this. That just eats through. That's very satisfying. Just eating through the sand like crazy. And once we get a little bit more to get up to 500, then we can make this even faster shooting. Ah, and there's a place with a lot of it. Got enough. Weapons, rapid fire. Yeah. I like that. Just sweep the cursor back and forth and look at all that sand. Alright, we got even more points to spend. We can fly faster. And max out the speed. Good sound design in this game. I love that distant rumbling of impacts. Boom. Like distant thunder. And now here is a mother lode of fluxite, but it's sort of hard to get at. Because it's got all these stones in the way. The triple burst helps. So it gives you some extra angles. Alright, well that's most of it. We got tons of fluxite. Very nice. So what else can we buy here? Go faster still. Alright, we're maxed out in speed. Maxed out in that. We can get Hydro Sponge so we can pick water up when we're outside the cave. Might as well get more information with the material scanner, extend the range of our... Alright, that's enough for the moment. I'll move that and that'll start running. Yep, there's all the spores. I do want to come back up here. It's so nice to be able to move quickly. I want to cut that open a little bit more. Come up here and check everything's going well. Alright, we're getting a little bit low water again. We'll send some more up. This is working fine. The fire has spread outwards a little bit. That's good. That'll just make it more... make it so that there's more going through. Though some dirt is making it through. That's fine. I expected that from all these hoppers. You can see it's throwing the dirt and it's going to land over here. But it's going to throw it back into the system. It may cycle a few times, but that's alright. Nothing's backing up. Tons of gold. Got 3,000 of that. Start buying other things here. We can buy the planters. Let's buy some lights since we're getting deeper in the cave. And it'll be a bit before we can buy anything else. And all of the spores have been processed. We're getting a nice big pile of spores in here. You can see how it's heaping up. That's because I did not do the skip 3 and launcher. There we go. Now it's a more even spread across the chamber. We'll come back later and see if this, instead of one pile, we have a nice even floor. That's the purpose of those spreaders. Sand's coming in. You know, with these towers being higher, I might be able to get rid of the whole crane structure up here. Just sort of have these like that. I do tend to... everything's just sort of going up and flying over all this floor. I may play around with the arrangement of these to sort of fine-tune it a bit. And I should probably do a spreader on this as well. Just to get them back a little farther so any dirt that comes up here has more time to make its way through all the shakers. I don't want to put too many here. Well, it's probably fine. Even though stuff might fall on top of these, like, yeah, this one. But it's going to go straight through it. It probably won't hit it just as it... oh, and these are a little too close to the ceiling here. I'll just cut away this. It's not needed. There they go. Bounce, 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 and fall out. I needn't have worried. Look, all the dirt's gone. It's now just a little tiny bit of slag. And more dirt is coming in. So now it's processing it about as fast as it's coming in, but look at it. Nice. All right. All right, well, let's look at the planters. And then we'll end the episode there. And I'll decide how I want to set the planters up. All right. We now have planter box. I'm not going to do it in here, because that would be a mistake. I'm going to bring one out here. Let's see if I can capture one. Got one. Yes, yes. So if a wet seed falls on a planter box, it starts to grow. And it gets this little flower at the top. we have 4 petals and the center, which is gold. Now you can burn it, you can shoot it. I'm going to shoot it. Oop. And so for that 1 seed, you get 1 gold. So all of this will turn 1 to 1 into gold. So that's a lot of gold. But it turns 1 to 4 into these amethylous petals. So like I said, I wouldn't want to process all of this necessarily, because then I'll need to store 4 times as much of this stuff. And I just will not be able to process these petals, which are fun because they sort of flutter like petals, whereas the gold just sort of plummets. So yeah, so it takes 1 seed, one wet spore, got it, to make 1 plant. Now, if another seed falls on the plant, well, that one had just sort of caught it there. They do tend to store. Making a mess here. So here's that seed. I don't know, sometimes they seem to be able to absorb seeds that land on them. Sometimes the seeds just land on them. I'm not sure how they're coated up. But yeah, these are the 2 things we'll be getting out of that. But we don't want to have to come along here and shoot these things. And one of the other ways to get them to drop their petals and flower is fire, which I'll do here with a short burst of flamethrower, and you can see they burn quite nicely. When it gets up to the petals, boomf. And the planter block itself will let these 2 materials through. It won't let anything else through, but it'll let gold and the petals through. And this can grow quite out of control. If you dump a lot of spores on there, and do I want to do this? I'm going to at least give it some containment. All right. I'm going to take a whole handful and drop it on there. Let's see if they will absorb. No, they just sort of fall off like you'd expect. Now if we set it on fire, it may have another seed. Yeah, there. See, it did absorb another seed because it grew another plant. See if it does it again. Nope, I guess that was it. So sometimes you'll start like shooting these things, and they just keep growing, and you think, why can I not kill them? That's because there was just too many spores placed on them. Like there, I stuck them in between. And you can grab these growing, when they're actually actively growing, you can move them. If you move the top piece. Oh, it grew to a flower. Once they go to the flower, it's gone. Let's do the last of it here. Alright, that's enough. Like I said, fire works too, so we can do the same thing we did with the spores by having some lava underneath. We got to make sure that we can handle all the gold and the petals. So the petals are going to go in a box in this area. So in between episodes, I'll figure out exactly where I want to place the planter boxes. So you can have a bunch of them. I'm going to. I might just like do a small setup over here, up in the corner of this box. It'll take away some of the storage capabilities, but I think it'll be fine. Yeah. Anyway, we'll do that for next time. Until then, this is Nonsanity, swimming in wet spores. Take care, be good, and see you next time.